Alright, hello everyone. If you are new to this channel, welcome. If you have seen other videos and this is the second one you're watching, or third, or whatever, welcome back. This is bookish nonsense, to those who don't know, haven't been here before. My name is Emma. So, I'm not a big rereader of books. I have mentioned this in my 20 bookish questions video. I would much rather be spending my time reading new books and taking in a new story, a new world. I just enjoy that more as a use of my time than rereading books. But there are books that I've been thinking about rereading because they are books that I loved when I first read them, but I read them a while ago, so I don't know if like my opinion's gonna be the same. I do have one other book that I thought of that I didn't care for when I first read it, but I'm willing to give a second shot because a lot of people do like it. Although I did see someone whose opinion I agree with say that they thought it was pretty average too. But we'll see. So this video is going to be like, if I did want to reread some books, these are some that are like top of my reread TBR basically. And the first book I have is one I read forever ago. It's Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, or I guess the whole Harry Potter series I would like to reread. Disclaimer, with a lot of situations where I have a piece of art that I enjoy, but a person who was part of creating it is problematic, I tend to just kind of disconnect the person from the art, so just a disclaimer, just throwing it out there. But yeah, I would like to reread this. I read these books, I don't remember how old I was when I first read these, especially the first one. My mom read the first one to me and my siblings out loud, and then I think we just picked them up if we wanted to continue reading, and I loved it, so I did want to continue reading. I don't know how my opinion on this would stay, because it has been a while. I only ever read the whole series once through. My mom has read it like 7 times through at least. I would like to pick this up, see how I feel about it now. I think one of my biggest concerns about picking this up again, is people have pointed out like the issues it has, and I think I'm a little afraid of like only seeing issues, but it's fine. I would love to reread this series. It's like a childhood favorite. I think a couple of these are gonna be, well, no, I take that back. Only one of the others is gonna be another childhood favorite. Harry Potter is one book that I would like to reread. So the next, I'll pretend that didn't happen. So the next book that I may or may not reread, I think this one might be pretty high on my reread TBR compared to everything else on this list, but The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon by Stephen King. I listened to this in the car when my family was doing some kind of road trip thing, and my mom played this in the car. I remember really enjoying it, but I have trouble with audiobooks sticking in my head, so I think this could be an easy one for me to pick up and reread, because it'll be kind of a new experience being able to actually like pick it up instead of just listening to an audiobook. But also this has kind of like that odd, eerie, something is really off sort of thing. I don't know. I really like stories that are just kind of weird and a little bit eerie, and I feel like this is gonna be like a perfect one to read, especially if weird and eerie is the kind of thing I would like to write. So yeah. Right, the next book I have is also Stephen King, and that is Pet Sematary. I read this when I was 14, and I think I had trouble wrapping my head around why it was scary. Like, looking back on it now, definitely a pretty unsettling book, but I would like to read this again in my 24-year-old mind, not my 14-year-old mind. I think this is one that I would actually like. The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon, I think this is one that I will actually like love now, as opposed to like the first time I read it when I like kind of enjoyed it, but was probably not at a point where I could like fully understand it or grasp it or anything. The next book I have on this list is my second childhood favorite, and that is Ranger's Apprentice, Ruins of Gorlan by John Flanagan. And again, this is just gonna be like a whole series reread, hopefully. I did start rereading it but that was like a couple months ago, and I am gonna try to pick it back up again. But I loved this when I was younger. This was like my favorite series when I was like early high school, but the reason I picked it up in the first place was because I saw it was about this 15-year-old boy who was like really short and kind of unassuming, and people didn't think he could really do much. He wanted to become a knight like he presumed his father was, but because of his like, you know, small stature, no one really believed he was like capable of becoming a knight, or just figured he would get killed pretty quickly if he became a knight. So he's taken up by a ranger instead. But yeah, so the reason I picked this up is because I was like, I think 14 or something, and I'm also very small and unassuming. It made me feel good about like being a small person. I loved the series when I was younger, and I would love to pick it back up, see how I feel about it now. Also, I'm just gonna point this out. I don't know how anyone else feels, but I don't like these covers as much as the originals. But I think the originals are just kind of nostalgic for me, so I don't know. Don't know how anyone else feels about it. So the next book is gonna be one I read my senior year of high school, and this is one that I enjoyed less when I read it. I just thought it was kind of underwhelming, but that is, I just realized I don't remember the author's name, so I'm sorry. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I just remembered, I don't know, I was indifferent to that book. I think when my mom assigned it to me to read for school, she figured I was gonna like it better because it was science-y and kind of creepy and weird and whatever. But I just wasn't that into it, so I would love to read it again and see how I feel about it now. Because maybe I would like it better now. But I don't know. And the last book I have, people could probably guess, because this is like my favorite book. I mentioned it in my 20 bookish questions video, that this is my favorite book ever. But I read this a while ago. I read this too my senior year of high school, and it became my favorite book ever. But I would like to see if it holds to that standard that I created for it in my head. I'm a little bit nervous about rereading it, actually. But that is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. So good. Fits that perfect, like, kind of eerie, weird vibe. Questions humanity, what it means to be human. Those are like all of my favorite stuff. And it's well written. I love the creature in this. He's so just tortured, and you can sympathize with him, but also you want him to do better. He kind of gets into, you know, crimes. I love this book. I would love to reread it. Like I said, I'm a little bit nervous to reread it because of the standard I put it to after the first time I read it. I do want to read it again and see if it holds that, like, favorite book position still after a reread. Makes me nervous, though. Alright, so those are all of the books that I would like to reread, plus Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which I don't have a copy of for some reason. Maybe I will reread these sometime, maybe not. I'm going to try to get to books that I have not read first, then I will consider these. Again, I'll probably consider like Pet Sematary and The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon. I will probably put those higher on the reread TBR just for the sake of that's very much what I like now, as opposed to what I liked then. I liked more like strict fantasy like Ranger's Apprentice. That'll be it for this video. I will see you guys hopefully in another video. Bye!